Alright guys, so Fula coming to you with another video. Shout out to the whole LDBC. If you like this video, please feel free to like the video. And if you would like to, please subscribe to the channel. Always by choice, never by force. And so, it seems like they might as well rename the month of February like the month of the martyrs, because it seems like we're losing everybody in February. From Pop Smoke to Kobe. And the person I want to talk about now is someone who left a profound influence on my life. And he left a profound influence in many ways. On the political spectrum, he left a profound influence. On the ideological perspective, he left a profound influence, and just in many more ways that I would be sitting here for a long time naming those ways. And I'm talking about Hajj Malik Shabazz, aka Malcolm X. And unfortunately, this is the day in which he was assassinated. And I just want to tap in on a couple of things in regards to his assassination. Number one, he knew, unfortunately, it was coming, because of what he stood for and because of what he was doing, and because of the slander in which was coming out of the Nation of Islam, and the jealousy of the other members of the Nation of Islam. And the crazy thing about the whole situation is that Malcolm was loyal to a fault. He was loyal to a T to Elijah Muhammad. I mean, his loyalty really transcended that of a normal human being. And when he found out about Elijah Muhammad, the thing is that every human being is prone to error. Every human being is not without fault. Everybody has faults. It's just a matter of acknowledging and addressing those faults. And I think the turning point of Malcolm X was the fact that the persona of Elijah Muhammad, of being this holy figure, being a messenger and whatnot, but not telling the people that he also had this in his closet. I think that's what really kind of drove Malcolm X in a different direction, because in the public eye, you're this anointed person, but in the behind closed doors, you're basically a womanizer. And if you're gonna proclaim yourself as a messenger, that comes with conditions, a lot of conditions, and part of those conditions are being pure. There's certain things that you can't do if you're calling yourself this enlightened messenger. And unfortunately, Elijah Muhammad did those things. I mean, the whole Nation of Islam anyway, no disrespect to them. I know some of them from being on Crenshaw and stuff. I think it was like Crenshaw and 59th that the Nation of Islam, they had a temple there. But I think they changed it into something else. And the thing is, they're on you know, kufr. They're basically on disbelief in their system of worship. And when Malcolm X, this is the thing that people don't realize about Malcolm X, and a lot of times we get this misconstrued, is that Malcolm X, when he went to Hajj, when he did that, went on his pilgrimage, people thought he turned a new light. The only thing that changed with him is that when he went on Hajj and saw the brotherhood and saw the amount of people of different shades, different colors, different hair textures, when he saw them in one community, he decided that, not Caucasian people ain't devils, but he was still radical. He wasn't dumbed down. He understood that in order for black people to get ahead, in order for black people to have dignity and to stop this cycle of self-destruction, that it had to start with them first. They couldn't look elsewhere. They couldn't ask for handouts from anybody else. It had to start from within. So he was still, believe it or not, still on that, I want to say, separatist. He still believed that blacks should be autonomous and that blacks should have their own. There was no change in that when it came to him. So with that being said, a lot of people get it misconstrued and think that he became an angel, so to say. But he really didn't. He was still on his tip. One thing I want to say about it is that when he cleaned himself up when he was in prison, the thing is once he was in prison, he cleaned himself up. Him being in prison and cleaning himself up led to him being under investigation even then by the FBI, because they saw a radical change in him, and they never thought in a million years that this man, who used to be a street hustler, used to deal with pimping and all that you can think of, would go through such a change. They didn't think it was possible. So once they saw that, they're like, oh crap, we got to keep tabs on him. That's basically it, how that happened. And even when he went on his Hajj, even when he visited different countries, they kept tabs on him. I mean, honestly, what really did it, what really kind of tipped the scale of the iceberg, was when he met Fidel Castro. Because he did meet Fidel Castro in Harlem. And they had conversations, and we don't know what those conversations were about. But after the fact that he met Fidel Castro, he said, he's the only white man I like. Okay? That's what he said. And for those of y'all who don't know, although Fidel Castro probably do have some Moorish blood in him, in Cuban society, he would be considered a Caucasian in Cuban society, And so that's really probably what did it. And you best believe that the FBI was keeping tabs on that. Because you have to understand something. What if it got to a point where Malcolm X was really serious about, really was pushing the line? I mean, really pushing the line. Meaning that he was going to push the political line to a very high degree. What if he sought out help from Cuba and despite, the embargo, and despite all those things going on, he would send blacks to Cuba for various types of training. What if that happened? It would have been bad news. It would have been very bad news. And so I think that's the whole thing. The whole situation is that, he did the establishment didn't want that to happen. They didn't want him to get to the point where he was actually, at that level. And so that's why, with the collaboration with the Nation of Islam, because best believe that the Nation of Islam was on his head after he just deserted it, after him leaving. That, what happened. I don't need to tell y'all the story about that. That sad, but it's true. They were just on his head. And it's sad how he went out, man, because he suffered, He wasn't even dead when they shot him with the sawed-off shotgun and things like that. He got hit up so much, man, that he suffered, man. That's the sad thing about it. It's real sad, man, when you have these prominent figures who serve as a beacon of hope for black people, and all of a sudden, man, they're cut short, man. The thing is there's a misconception that, continental Africans, Afro-Caribbeans, Afro-Latins, African descendants born in this country are at odds with one another. And the odds really are, I want to say, artificial. Because me speaking from a continental African standpoint, from being an immigrant in this country for so long, Africans are broken people too. Continental Africans are broken because we still have a European mind most of the time. We don't have an African mind, which moves different, thinks different, does things different. And so we're broken because we keep on trying to think that, by trying to assimilate into the European mode, that we're going to get somewhere on the continent of Africa. And we see what it's gotten us. It's gotten us absolutely nothing, to show for it. Like, even after all these independence, we have nothing to show for independence at all. All we have to show for independence is a damn flag, man. That's it. But any place in Africa you go, be it Cabo Verde, be it Guinea-Bissau, be it Senegal, be it Gambia, be it Nigeria, I won't say we're backwaters, but we're still like behind. We still miss the point, So with that being said, Malcolm was trying to change that for all blacks, not just blacks in America, but blacks all over. Because he spoke on it. He spoke on African issues because he could speak on African issues. He was in Africa. He went there, visited, saw how things go down. And then another thing that must be said too about him is that I don't know for a fact, but I think he did meet Prince Faisal of Saudi Arabia. I think Prince Faisal, if I'm not mistaken, he was assassinated by the CIA because he had kind of like a different way of moving around. And I think in meeting Prince Faisal, I don't know what Saudi royalty he met, but you know, he met someone, and then that someone was just going into the spiel about how the Prophet Muhammad, upon him be peace, had all types of relatives or had all types of descendants, and that he had black descendants. I think, you know, that struck a chord in Malcolm too. And the fact that that struck a chord in him is why he pretty much maybe also had to go too, because imagine if he went down there and taught that, you know. Imagine if this was an issue he was really openly teaching about, you know. Imagine that. You know, imagine if he had all these followers and that was the line he was pushing, that, you know, because the propaganda campaign for Islam wasn't too heavy back then. They didn't necessarily care about Islam. They just cared about the man behind the Islam, you know, and the influence he had. But imagine that. Imagine if he pushed that line about Islam and about the blackness that you find in Islam. Imagine what that would do for Muslim people. Imagine how many black people that would attract to Islam, you know. So that's another reason why he had to go. And the thing is about even Orthodox Islam, you know, I'm not talking about the Nation of Islam. It's a liberating religion if practiced right. It's a revolutionary religion. It's a religion that basically turns societies upside down. Thomas Sankara himself said that Jesus and the Prophet Muhammad were revolutionaries who turned the society upside down. And that's what Islam does. It's a reforming thing. And so Malcolm knew the power of it. And the FBI and the nation knew the power of it too. Because when you really look at the Nation of Islam, it does, you know, inspire discipline. It does inspire structure. But behind all of that, it's just a hero worship. It's just that people look towards Elijah Muhammad as their Messiah, and that he can do no wrong. But deep inside of him, it still doesn't really do anything. You know, it's just that they fall into formation and they don't take part in the battle on the ground. You know what I mean? Because you got to see what they did to the prominent Nation of Islam people. You know, they assassinated Khalid Muhammad, for example. And so, you know, that was the guy who had the energy, you know what I mean? But again, he was about real radical change. But honestly, I'm sorry to say it, but the Nation of Islam, they're kind of like sheep, you know? But anyhow, man, that's all I got for now. Leave your thoughts and leave your comments. 21 gun salute to brother Hajj Malik Shabazz. And, you know, let's just remember him on this day, that he died in the field, really trying to inspire change. But anyhow, man, that's all I got for now. Fula signing out. Leave your thoughts, leave your comments.